Well, tragedy has struck again this week in more than one way. The stake starts now. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to The Stakes. I am Tara Setmayer. This is Michelle Kinney, and we are the co-founders of the Seneca Project. And I normally don't like to start the show so somberly, but it's kind of been, we were on a high this week coming off of last week, and then I was back in New York, and we were having a good time celebrating one of our senior advisors winning an award. We got fancy again, and then the week went to shit again.
Yeah.
And, we don't like this. We don't like this. And
it's inescapable these days.
It is. It's like, can we have a couple days where we just, enjoy something positive? But no. And it started off with the news about President Biden and his cancer diagnosis. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But then last night, besides the fact that I was beside myself over the Knicks blowing their lead in the fourth quarter and tragically losing to the Indiana Pacers in a heartbreaking fashion in overtime, I flip over to the news and hear about this awful, brutal, anti-Semitic terrorist shooting in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And I said, oh my God, what this is happening now. We're doing this again, people. Like, this is awful. And it made the Knicks game feel like absolute nothing at that point, because now we're dealing with life or death.
Right.
And it's just one of those situations where, any shooting like this and loss of life is tragic. But when you really put a human face and story behind this, and you realize that this is something we've been warning about as far as extremism, and it's primarily been on the right most of the time.
Yeah.
But occasionally we do have examples like this where it was not a right-wing crazy this time. It was coming from the left. And this young couple that was brutally murdered, it was like point blank range. And this guy decided to do it in the name of Palestine and Gaza. It's not helping your cause, okay? It's not helping your cause.
Not helping anything at all.
No, this is no. And now 2 innocent lives are gone, and it's just awful. And it's kind of dominated the news today here because it happened in DC, and it was so brazen. I know exactly where that is. Right down there next to the, police headquarters in DC. It's like on 3rd Street, 3rd and F, Judiciary Square area. But, we put out a statement today from Seneca, and this couple, they were about to get engaged. We found this out last night, and they had a press conference pretty quickly after. And we have our statement here that Sarah Milgram and Yaron Lishinsky, 2 young Israeli embassy diplomats, were fatally shot last night at the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington. They were attending an event focused on Israeli-Palestinian cooperation to bring humanitarian aid to Gaza. We are outraged by their brutal murders and condemn this anti-Semitic act of terror. Our thoughts are with the families of the victims and those who were in attendance. It's I don't know. I don't even know what to say about a situation like this.
Well, the first thing I'll say is, if you're listening and you are not Jewish and you have Jewish friends, people you care about, call them, ask them how they're doing, check in on them, because this is the kind of stuff that every Jewish person thinks about and is part of their worst nightmares. If you go into any synagogue, any JCC, any Jewish organization or place of worship, you're met by mags, pat downs, metal detectors. That's just part of life of being a Jewish American.
And that really ramped up since the Tree of Life synagogue shooting, right?
And that's the thing, is like, a lot of Jewish Americans really are faced with a rising tide of anti-Semitism on the right, obviously, but also now on the left in a very real way. And it's not okay. It is a sign of a much bigger sickness and cancer within our culture in our country, and the rhetoric that is happening just on either side. And I just want to show this here, this picture of them. Yes, they were, diplomats from the Israeli embassy, but they were Jewish. And like,
Hmm.
let it be known, they were killed because they're Jewish. That is why.
Yep.
And that's the part of this story that we cannot leave out, is that yes, they were there. They were part of an event with Jewish people, um, that was part of a Jewish organization. But this is also important. The shooting took place outside the event organized by AJC Access, the Young Professionals Division of the American Jewish Committee, that had speakers from the Multi Faith Alliance and Isra AID, a humanitarian aid group. In a statement expressing shock at the killings, the Isra AID said that the event had, quote, focused on bringing humanitarian aid to Gaza through Israeli, Palestinian, and regional collaboration. So they were there trying to be part of a solution of something horrific happening on the other side of the world. And this person took it into his own hands, traveled from Chicago, and took a gun out and shot these two individuals and ended their lives.
Yep.
Um,
He
and
made a conscious decision to do it.
he did.
And it's difficult to stop that level of fanaticism if
Yes.
someone is willing to go to great lengths, if they don't care about their own life to do it. That's what
Mhm.
makes it chilling, on top of the fact that people, more and more lone wolf radicalization is every counterterrorism's expert's nightmare, because
Right.
it's very difficult to prevent these types of things.
Yes.
When he like walked up to them and
Yeah, walked up to
traveled.
them and
Yeah.
and then went into the facility where this event was taking place, and they interviewed a couple other people who were there,
Hmm.
who, they saw the man come in. They didn't know that he was the shooter,
Right.
that his nervous system was in overdrive, and they were like, "Are you okay? What's going on?" Handed him a cup of water, and
Yeah.
it wasn't until after that that he said, "That was me, I did it," and then they cuffed him and took him away. But,
Yeah.
listen, violence against any group of people for any reason is sickening. It is beyond unacceptable. It is not something that we should tolerate in this country, whether it's against Muslim Americans, Arab Americans, Jewish Americans, Black Americans, Asian Americans. It does not matter. And the intent here really is important. It's just
Yep.
it's not a random act of violence.
Right.
This is a premeditated act of hatred against Jewish people.
Yep.
And it must be called out. We must say it out loud. um it is an awful, awful thing that happened. So I just want to say again, on behalf of myself, Tara, and the Seneca Project, how sad and angry we are about this. And our thoughts go out not just only to, obviously, the people who this happened to, their families, their friends and loved ones, but also to the Jewish community at large, because this is part of a much bigger and more sinister problem in this country.
Yeah. That well said. That's absolutely true. And we can't lose focus of that on
Mhm.
that. The other thing we can't lose focus on is the fact that this horrible nightmare of a bill was passed last night
The
in
big, beautiful bullshit bill?
yeah, that thing, that got passed, and, only hours after Democratic Congressman Jerry Connolly passed away, and the bill only passed 215 to 214. And I there are so many problems with what's in this thing. Not
Yeah.
only the fact that the administration is just flat out lying about the
Oh,
benefits.
yeah, and doing it in the dead of
Yeah.
night
Yeah. The
because they
rules committee,
know.
yeah, they know. They don't want it during the day when
Right,
all the cameras are there and it's easy for people to pay
right,
attention, and you get it on the
right,
nightly news, and then
right.
folks get mad, or and they want to call their congressman and go, "Wait a minute, what?" No,
Mhm.
they did this. Doing rules committee stuff at 1 o'clock in the morning with these geriatrics,
It's
which a lot of them
so
is so it's calculated
Yeah.
to hide what's happening. Okay. This is not like it doesn't happen. It happens, but they
Mhm.
only do it either to punish people
Right.
or to do something that
Right.
they don't want the public to
And
know about.
and also, this isn't like they were working all day and going into the night. They
No,
convened
that's
at
correct.
1:30 AM.
That is
Convened.
correct.
And that's where, I mean, the Democrats really, I think they were doing the right thing in having some of the influencers show up, and also talk about it leading up to get the message out. Unfortunately, I don't think the message was loud enough, and as broad enough as it should have been,
No.
nor has it been about the bill itself and what it's doing. And so I pulled some of this, the ugly truth about Trump's big, beautiful bullshit bill, which is what I'm calling it. Um, so they want to keep the Trump tax cuts from before, right? So the big tax cut
Yeah,
that
with the
happened in
permanent.
2017 under Paul Ryan's leadership in the House, those would be expiring, and they're therefore increasing taxes on certain people that they don't want that to happen to. So they're going to expire those. Then they want to add some more cuts for the richest Americans in the country. Baked into some of this is, undoing the SALT tax, which is the state and local tax deduction, which, if I'm a New Yorker, that unfortunately did hurt a lot of people, in states like mine,
And New Jersey
and
and
New Jersey,
California.
Connecticut.
Yeah,
Right,
places where the property values are high,
right,
there's high taxes, and they originally had capped it at 10,000, which is not enough for people
right,
that, that's like not enough.
right,
So that was one of the whole reasons why you had some of the moderates holding out, because they're like,
right.
you're killing us, because
And
some of them paid the price in the 2018 midterms for that
yes,
in
yes,
New York and New Jersey and California, because
right,
they voted for this, and people were what the fuck, what are you doing
right.
here? So they were
So
like, we're not doing that again. So
right, and
they
so
did raise that. That's about one of the only good things.
it's only the good thing. But then, you have Elise Stefanik out here today, look at how great I am, because she's going to run for governor of New York.
Hmm.
But unfortunately, it's going to be really expensive now, because of they've painted themselves into a corner with this. It's going to be really expensive to undo the SALT deduction situation. And so the other ones are like, no, we can't do that. So it might stick anyways, which totally sucks.
Yep.
They've baked in more mass deportation.
This
Uh
is the part, these
yeah.
are the parts of it that are the most alarming.
Yes.
It's the amount of money and authority that they're giving to ICE,
Mhm.
basically making their budgets larger than others combined.
Yeah,
Like, it's crazy.
right. Trump wants $50 billion for his border wall. I mean, come on.
That's
And other border facilities, and billions more with a B for U.S. Customs and Border Protection. He also wants money for his planned, quote, Golden Dome missile defense shield, which
which
I,
is just Star Wars in another package. It's
yes.
basically a
And
space-based missile
calling it the
defense.
Golden Dome is just so stupid.
Well,
Golden showers.
it's on brand for
I
him. There's
know, just
golden
golden
toilets and
toilets,
yes,
golden, fake
Oval
golden this.
Office,
Yeah, I
all of
can't.
it. He's the
Um,
worst. But the problem with all of that is that everything that we just talked about normally gets
mhm.
appropriated in its own bill.
Right, in a
Like,
clean bill by
yes, and
itself.
clean appropriation bills that
Right.
go under the proper cabinet departments. So, like the Golden Dome nonsense would be under the Pentagon, the defense spending
Right,
bill. Then ICE and all of that would be under Homeland Security.
right,
All of this, it's not normal for all of this stuff to be thrown into one big behemoth bill. They did
right.
this on
Bullshit.
purpose so that
Right.
they could so that they could use the SALT tax and things like that. Meanwhile, they slip in all this other nefarious shit that's going on here that's
Mhm.
going to increase the deficit by $4.7 trillion.
That's right.
Like, this is so when Carolyn Levitt goes out there and lies her ass off at the podium in the press briefings, telling the American people that this is actually good for you, this is good for middle class families. No, it isn't.
No.
It is not cutting the deficit at all. It is
Right.
raising the deficit so that Donald Trump can get his pet projects and all of these other things and these tax cuts through that aren't paid for. So
Tax
they're
cuts for the
lying.
richest Americans, and they're like, "Well, we have to find the money somewhere.
Right. So
Where are
where
we
do they
gonna
cut
do
it?
this?" They're gonna
Yeah.
cut from, says their top targets are Medicaid, clean
Yep.
energy,
Yep.
student loans, and food stamps. So, to your point, Tara, also they have a debt ceiling increase. They're gonna raise the debt ceiling. Let's see what else here. Clean
Again,
energy.
These are things that they need to do. You have
Right.
to raise the debt ceiling,
Right.
but they're also, so they threw this all into one big gobbledygook bill, which
Right.
again, I want to emphasize is not the normal way things are done.
No, it's just
Not
like
how it's
he's
done.
consolidating, this
Yes.
legislation for more power and more. And also, listen, this is the only thing they're going to do during this entire like
Yes.
Congress. Like this is the only thing they're ever going to do.
Right.
So the clean energy cuts over $600 billion, cuts to Medicaid over $600 billion. Who's this going to, hurt? It's going to hurt old people. It's going to hurt poor people, babies, and people specifically also in rural poor areas, which is going to hurt the red states harder than anybody else.
Yeah.
Um,
MAGA is owning. It's the biggest cell phone of Trump
mhm,
supporters
but
ever.
they don't care.
They don't care because they're in a cult and they're being fed a steady diet of lies on all of their media networks that they listen to. So
Yep.
everything that they listen to from Fox on down is telling them how wonderful this is. It is propaganda bullshit. They are literally hurting their own constituents to enrich their oligarch friends and
Exactly.
and consolidate power so they can have a larger police state, and so that Kristi Noem and her thugs, okay, Ice Barbie over here and her Stasi, sounds like a punk band, Ice Barbie and the Stasi.
Jem and the Rockers would never.
Right, yeah, no, never. Which I loved, by the way.
Just the best, the best.
I don't know why, but it's like it hears us, because I literally, when I was scrolling on my phone before the show, a Jem thing came up on Reels. I swear to God, it was a guy talking about how Jem was so mean to Rio and that it was criminal how bad she dissed him. I swear to God, I was singing the damn Jem song in my mind like for 10 minutes before we came on air. Anyway, but that's what's going on. They're giving these people all of this power under the noses of the American people. Like and they're also making it more difficult for the judiciary to actually enforce the law. Right. All of this shit is in this big horrible bill. Right. And it's and so it's not over yet. Just so that people understand.
No, and it has to go to the Senate now. And obviously it's unpopular if it's only passing by one vote in the House. But like here, I mean, this is really important. It's going to strip nearly 14 million Americans of their health insurance coverage. Like that is so many people. And like what is going to happen to those people? I mean, it's again, like it's going to come from somewhere. Like people are going to go into hospitals. They're going to go when they're sicker than they've ever been. People
are going to have a hospital, because it's going to
they have a hospital.
Hospitals. Like
that's right.
This is the thing. All of the stuff that this is going to do is hurting the very constituents that they rely on to vote for them.
Right.
And yet I don't understand why the Democratic Party did not have an onslaught of ads and town halls and press conferences in every single one of the swing districts across the country. Like, bring attention to this. I don't understand. That's what Republicans would do. And believe me, if we had millions of dollars, we would do it. Because we know how to do it. In a heartbeat. We would do it in a heartbeat. But we don't have millions of dollars. Maybe someone watching will write us $1 million check. I don't know. But if you do, if we have millions of dollars, if we had millions of dollars, this is what we would do.
Right.
And the Democrats do, as you were saying.
Well,
they have the money.
and I just want to point out here, because this is some data from the Center for American Progress. They put together, and if you go to the CAP's website, all of this breaks down. But I just want to like pick one state out of here, okay? Like Kentucky, super red, okay?
Yep.
So with this bill, estimated health insurance coverage losses by 2034, 190,000 people. Number of people at risk of losing some or all SNAP benefits,
That's
130
for those who don't know.
Right, 135,000. Number of jobs put at risk by elimination of clean energy tax credits, 25,147. And I mean, it goes on and on. I mean, Michigan's even bigger, 34,000. SNAP benefit loss in Michigan, 304,000. People that are going to lose their health insurance, over 300,000. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And I just, those numbers are important because especially, I mean, like you look even at the numbers in states like Wyoming or Montana or something, right? That's like one congressional district, which means it's about 750,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
You're losing, if you've got 10, 15,000 people losing their jobs, that is a large percentage of the people in your state who
This
are
is
without
the
jobs,
right,
losing their coverage.
right.
I mean, what happens to these people?
That's what I don't understand. Why no one is talking about the consequences of
Right.
this. We started doing that in the beginning when Doge was going in and just tearing up the federal government.
Yep.
And just because the federal government and government jobs are easy targets, it's low hanging fruit because people are like, oh, we don't like the government. But then when you start putting real names and faces
Right.
and services, and people realize what the government actually
And
does
what is it?
do for them,
80,000 federal jobs, or not 80,000? What am I talking about? 80% of the federal jobs occur and happen outside
they're
of
outside. I
Washington,
think it's
D.C.
86%, but yes,
Something like that.
it's
Yeah.
out. Doesn't matter. A shit ton,
Right.
okay? A whole
Majority.
lot,
Vast majority.
overwhelming majority
Right.
of the federal government jobs are outside the DC area. That is correct.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
people don't think about it because when government works well, you don't pay attention to it. And so when you started putting, like when we started talking about how it's going to impact national parks, how it's going
Mhm.
to impact your local VA, how it's going to impact your social security offices, and then how it's going to impact farmers, all of these things, people are going, oh, I
Yeah.
didn't realize that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I continue to use this example. So all of these people that work for the government or subcontractors of the government that depend on government contracts for their businesses, because
Mhm.
it's like one big thing. What happens to them when all those jobs go away? It's like when you close down a factory. What happens? Then the
Right.
town becomes a ghost town because the corner store, the diner, the
It
hotel,
that's the
right?
trickle down economics, guys.
There you
That's
go.
it.
That's right. What happens when your aunt who works as a diner waitress doesn't have her
Right.
job anymore because there's no workers that are there
Listen,
to go eat at the diner, and then the
I worked
diner loses. I mean, it's a
I
cascading
worked in a
effect.
restaurant. I worked in a restaurant in Murray Hill in Midtown Manhattan in 2007, 2008,
Ugh,
2009. Okay.
financial crisis.
Right. So our clientele, I worked at like a barbecue restaurant and it was like kind of like a fun rock and roll place. And most of the clientele that we had were like Wall Street guys and, hedge fund guys who worked on Madison Avenue and whatnot. So, they were riding high in 2007. They'd come down with the corporate cards and they'd like double grat you. And we were rolling in it. We were making all kinds of money,
Mm-hmm.
having all kinds of fun. Right. But all of a sudden, we started to notice little by little, all of a sudden, like, we just weren't making as much money. People weren't having events in the bar anymore. There were no Friday lunches. There were, so like, and all of a sudden, we're strapped. Okay.
Right.
And we're like young 20 somethings. Like we can't pay our rent.
Right.
Like we can't have health insurance. I mean, I didn't have health insurance until I was 29 years old.
Yeah, and then you
know?
don't have disposable income, so you're not going and buying those new pair of
Right.
shoes. You're not going
No.
into
We're not going out to eat.
That's right. You're not going now out to the bars or going out to eat. Like, this is what happens. So you get rid of the income of all of these people. What
Right.
are they supposed to do? So who's going to buy the products, the imaginary products of all of these new manufacturing jobs that are allegedly supposed to come back to the United States? And this is why Donald Trump is telling everyone that they need to suck it up now and pay more now and lose their businesses now because, oh, you're going to bring all these jobs back and everybody's going to buy American. Well, who the fuck is going to buy anything if they don't have jobs, benefits, money, businesses?
That's the part of this. I saw
talking about this.
I saw a headline today that said Jamie Dimon was the smartest, stupidest man in finance in American
Citibank.
Or I think Citi. I forget. It's one of them. I think
one of the big
I'm
banks.
sure somebody will tell me in the chat here.
Yeah.
But again, it's like this short-sighted kind of like it's the Gollum effect. Like they can't see beyond their own chase. They can't see beyond their own greed and thirst for power and money that they don't see. They can't see 15, 20 years down the road and see like this is going to collapse the country, because the reason that all these people are as rich as they are is because we have had a middle class, a strong middle class. And, I would say that the American middle class is probably one of the greatest inventions in the history of this country.
Right. And a lot of it's thanks to unions and small business owners.
Imagine that. And this was, I mean, I'm very grateful that women, are working outside the home now and able to have careers. But I will say, like, 50, 60 years ago, that wasn't always the case. It certainly was way less than it is now. And families of four survived on one income. That is
Right.
no longer the case.
No.
And when you have people in my age group, now I graduated college in 2004, luckily, thank God, before the financial crisis, but many of my friends who are a little younger than me did not. They consolidated their student loans after the fact at high interest rates. One of my very good friends is now owes more now than she did when she graduated.
I
And
do
it's
too.
not because, right, it's not because you're missing payments. It's not because of any of that. It's simply because the interest on these student
That's
loans
correct.
is so insane. And this is the student loan crisis
Yeah, it's a
that
whole nother
young
thing.
people are talking about. And I
Yep.
feel like people are brushing it off, being like, well, I paid mine off. Well, good for you. I paid mine off too, but I was very, very lucky because I was able to consolidate at a certain percentage and, whatever. It doesn't
Not
matter.
me.
Right.
I listen, I've been paying my student loans off for 20 plus years, and
Right.
they're more, I owe more because for the same reason. So
It's
unless one day,
obscene.
right? Unless one day, someday that either I win the lottery or maybe I write a best-selling New York Times book and get a nice advance and pay it off in one shot,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be paying it until for the rest of my life. And it's
It's
craziness. It's crazy. It was part of the reason why when I it took me so long to be able to buy a house. My
right.
husband and I didn't buy a house for years. Like, we only bought a house 3 years ago. It's
Mhm.
my first
Yeah.
house 3 years ago.
Trust me. I'm like, I've never owned a, yeah.
Well, you're in New York City, but
I know.
partially
It's crazy.
because my student loan debt, the debt to income ratio was so high. And it didn't
Mhm.
matter. Like, I had other things paid down. I didn't really have credit card debt, but my debt to income ratio, because of my freaking student loans,
Right.
that caused us to have a higher interest rate than most people. And but we had no choice in order to get our house. So I understand this. I live this every single day.
Right. But
And
all
it's
this stuff is
criminal.
like, it adds up. And it's like, there's only so many expenses that the American people can take on,
Yep.
from internet and cable and electric and student loans and healthcare costs, which are
Yeah.
going to skyrocket,
Yes.
especially now that people are going to get sicker. And like, this is not an exaggeration when
Right.
I say that the Trump administration's policy is very simple.
Mm-hmm.
It is death and it is suffering. That is what it is. Because if there are less of us, and whatever of us are left are stupid, sick, and destitute,
Yep.
they can consolidate more of their power, and then they can make us all into like these little peasants that put their iPhones together for them. And like, that sounds crazy, but it's not. Like,
No,
they
talk about
this.
it.
They talk about it openly.
Exactly.
And like, the Trump administration's policy is death.
Mhm.
That's it.
Death
And
and destitution.
And if you look at everything through that lens, it all starts to make a whole lot more sense.
Yep.
All of it.
All of it. All of it. So we say all that to say that the bill has not passed into law yet. This is only part one. And there's an opportunity to still put pressure on
There
senators.
is. Absolutely.
Because the senators, unlike a lot of these House members, they have to answer for their entire state. So when it comes time for them to be up for re-election, that's a statewide election. It's a little more challenging.
Yes.
So
that's a popular vote kind of thing. Right.
That's right. So they're trying to do this under reconciliation rules. So that way it doesn't have to be 60 votes. They can do it with 50+1. They're going to try all kinds of things.
Oh, yeah.
Try to jam this thing through. But I swear to God, if the Democrats do not go on a major blitz, and when I saw someone say, I hate when you say no one's talking about it. People are talking about it. They're just not listening. I'm like, I'm not talking about regular folks.
No, like everyone watching the show, you guys know what's going on.
I'm talking about the powers that be that have platforms that are there to set narratives. They're not talking about this in a consolidated way, in a unified way that's easily digestible so that the people who are not listening are paying attention. You
Right.
have to get them to pay attention. The way
And you
you
have
get
to
people
go
to
where
pay
they are.
That's right. The way you get people to pay attention is you go where they are and you make it real for them. You scare the shit out of them about what the actual consequences are about it and jolt them into paying attention. That's the only way, because we live in a very selfish, self-centered society, unfortunately, where fear is the biggest motivator. Okay,
Yeah.
you want to be scared? You want to be scared? Then we'll tell you. This is what will happen. You won't be able to your mom is not going to be able to go to that nursing home, because guess what? It used to be paid for by Medicaid, and now that's gone.
Yep.
Or you live out in the rural district somewhere. Well, you're probably going to die if you have a stroke, or you have a life-threatening injury that you need to get to your
Heart
hospital,
attack.
because you're going to have to drive an hour and a half now to get to another hospital, because the rural hospitals where you were are no longer funded because these bastards decided to defund Medicaid.
That's right.
It's not Medicaid is not just all about welfare queens and
No.
Black people, poor Black people in the ghetto. That's not what Medicaid is. Okay, there's a lot more white people that are on these services than Black folks and minorities. So that myth is busted.
I let's talk about like babies in the NICU. How many babies in the NICU in this country are covered by Medicaid? I have a very good
in
friend.
red districts because their mothers are addicted to opioids.
Right. That is also the case. Yeah. I mean, I have a very good friend whose baby was born at 27 weeks. It was very awful. She spent over a year in the hospital. And my friend had to quit her job. They were surviving just on her husband's salary. They already had another child at home. And she was like, had it not been for the coverage that we got through Medicaid, like she was like, my child would not be alive.
Mm-hmm.
And now they have in-home care.
Right.
Luckily, because the baby's like she's got problems.
Yeah.
And she needs help that her mom can't give her all the time. And so,
right.
It's like these things they give human life a chance.
Yes.
You want to talk about being pro-life.
Correct.
Like this is supporting life and giving it a chance, really. Truly.
Yes. And so it needs to be these types of points need to be made instead of getting into the minutia of this line of this bill that's going to change this tax rate. No. You have to keep it in human interest terms.
Yes.
And that's what Republicans do.
You have to go right here.
They synthesize it down, and a lot of times it's dishonest. They use dishonesty and demagoguery, and then people and they repeat it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, and then it gets into the zeitgeist and people believe the bullshit. And that's what's happening now, where these dumbass MAGA people are believing that this big beautiful bill. Why do you think he called it that? A big beautiful bill.
Well, he calls
beautiful bill
big beautiful things, and
because
always
it's marketing,
right,
to make it sound positive. And he always says the exact opposite of what's happening.
Yeah, it sounds always just creepy. I was like, I don't know that I like the way that he's saying big and beautiful. I feel like he's going to say boobies at the end of it or something.
I mean, he's probably thinking that's probably how he remembers things, Oh, let me think about it. It's like big boobies.
But I mean, like to the point of really putting things in plain language. Okay, like I'm a Democrat, Tara's not, but like we love our Democratic friends and fellow, fighters in this mission. But we can also take time to be very critical of their failings. And this is a big one.
Yes.
Big one is the messaging and the consistency of the messaging, and also the quality of the messaging, because the quality has to be plain language. You have to talk to people, unfortunately, like normal people. You can't be giving all these lofty, and this is where like the Democratic consultant problem is real, because they don't leave the Washington, D.C. beltway. And they don't go out into the world and talk to real people. And so you get kind of stuck in this hamster wheel of highfalutin, highbrow language of like explaining things. When it's like, remember that graphic that the Senate Dems put out, and it was like 100 points. Like, here's the things we did this week. And I was like, no one's reading this. Pick 3 things. Pick 3 things.
3 things, 5 max, and that's it. And it's bold print.
And we put this video, and I would really actually like to show this, because we put this video out before the inauguration, okay? Warning people where this was going.
Yeah.
Now, we have been warning people since last year of what was possible, right?
And we've been right about all of it, unfortunately.
All of it. I'd never want to be more wrong about anything in my life, but
I've said that.
I just want to
my mantra since 2020.
Yeah. Please,
2016. I'm sorry.
Please make a fool out of me. Please. Like, but here's get ready. We put this out in early January.
Mass deportation.
Largest deportation program in American history. travel ban,
Muslim ban.
Confusion erupted at airports.
Clearing the streets of peaceful protesters.
This is now a political stunt.
The president saying, why don't we nuke them?
Floated the idea of buying Greenland.
Not ruling out military force to acquire Greenland.
30,000 separate lies.
Flushed printed pieces of paper down the toilet.
lavish spending,
Ethics investigations.
Extortion.
Bribery.
Brazen influence peddling.
Threatened to withhold aid for California wildfires.
The president isn't leading.
Poor me.
The president caves.
Disclosed highly classified information to the Russian foreign minister.
Seeming to grovel in front of Vladimir Putin.
He was not the patriot he should have been.
Americans are dead because the president delayed.
Refused to act.
Ignored those warnings.
There's no vaccine that is safe and effective.
Go have a good time, Bobby.
No guardrails.
There are no independent agencies.
Surrounding himself with loyalists.
Answer to President Trump.
We're going to come after the people in the media.
They should go to jail.
We are watching an attempted sedition.
I am your retribution.
I'm exhausted.
I know. I forgot even about that one.
I know. I was
totally
watching
forgot
them all
about
today
that.
and I was like, dang. Yeah.
I mean, again, we nailed every single one of those things. And this was before Inauguration Day because they telegraphed this before that. Now, what someone I saw in comments said, most of the people watching here agree with you. How do you bring in MAGA? Well, first of all, MAGA is not our constituency. You're not going to change MAGA's minds.
No.
We aren't. But what you do is because they see us as the enemy because we're not on their side. But what you do is that you inject the messaging into their arena and let them, when they see it, and they don't know where's the messenger coming from, then they have to be forced to think about it. That's why if we had the money, we'd play an ad like that in a district where
because we're using their words,
we're using their own words.
actions. That's the thing. It's like we're not specifically with that audience. That's what you have to do.
That's what you have to do because they've been programmed to discredit anything we have to say because we're seen as the enemy. We have Trump derangement syndrome. We're we're the crazy ones. We're the ones that don't know what's going on. We're in denial. So they're not our constituency, right?
Right.
Now the people who were in the middle, who claimed they're not MAGA, not in the cult, but they were like, yeah, but we don't like the Democrats. We're going to give Trump a chance, or I'm mad at the Democrats because those people, those are the ones, because there's a lot more of those people than there actually are MAGAs. The hardcore MAGAs are like 25%, maybe 30 by now.
They've got the ceiling is, it is what it is.
Very low. So the hardcores, and they're going to have to deal with that in their own thing. It's those other people who are the softer Trump people that those folks, they may never admit that they were wrong, but they will go, holy shit, we can't do this again. Those are the people, because it was very close. This election was not a mandate. It wasn't Ronald Reagan in 1984.
No.
Okay. This wasn't a landslide. It was decided by 220,000 roughly votes in 7 states. That was the difference.
Nothing.
That was it.
Right.
Maybe it was 4 states, actually. 220,000.
But even so, it's like more Americans of voting age didn't vote.
Correct.
And voted for either candidate. And that means that 7 out of 10 Americans did not vote for Donald Trump, that didn't ask for this.
Which again should be part of the pushback. The level of pushback on the bullshit narratives, they're still letting Trump and MAGA set the narrative. And that for us as people who know how to set narratives, it's very frustrating, especially for me as a former Republican. Part of my 30 years in politics is as a political communicator, setting narratives. So like I just, it's we know how to do this, but again, we don't have the millions of dollars that some other groups do that they're not using their money properly for. We're going to speak that into existence, because that if we did, then people follow along when they see things that are going on. And so, and to answer other people's questions, no, we are absolutely not funded by the Lincoln Project. Never have been.
Someone's
never
asking
will
that?
be. And yeah, we are not. We have never been affiliated with them. We started this on our own. We left them for a reason, and we have nothing to do with them. And so people need to understand that. So if there was ever any confusion about that, I want to be very clear right now that we have never received one dime from the Lincoln Project.
Not a dime, not a kind word, nothing. So
nothing. So
end it right there.
But anyway, I would like to play welfare queen because a couple of our astute folks who are watching said that Elon Musk was one of the biggest recipients of government money, and they are 100% correct. And we, of course, made that point. The Democrats didn't, but we did, hoping they would catch on. And it's called Welfare Queen. Michelle and I wrote this in 45 minutes, and you will hear the lovely Michelle Kinney's talented voiceover.
There's a shadow president in Washington.
Sitting behind the Resoluta.
We didn't elect this guy. He wants us to believe he's a self-made man, that he made his billions through hard work and his so-called genius.
He didn't invent Tesla.
SpaceX explosion.
But the truth is, he mooched off the American taxpayer.
Pronounced subsidies.
Our money. And he's too arrogant to admit the free ride that we have been giving him. Republicans used to attack folks living off government assistance, calling them welfare queens. But it was all a myth. The real welfare queen is Elon Musk.
We gave him all his money.
And he's coming for more. Our Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, our jobs, our private information, our livelihoods, our safety. And Donald Trump is letting him.
Is there anything you've told Elon Musk he cannot touch?
Well, we haven't discussed that much.
Don't be fooled. This isn't about making government work better for you. It's about making America work for him. Are we going to stand back and stand by and let this happen? Hey, Congress, we're talking to you too. You work for us. Do your job and stop this now.
Oh my God, the freaking salute gives me, it goes through me every time. When we were going through the editing of this, I was like, that's where you put that in. Because we were thinking about, I'm like, where do we put this in? I'm like, we put it in at the freaking end as a way.
Thank you, Casual Observer. It's very nice. Thank you.
Oh, what did they say? Is Casual Observer a male or female? Do we know?
I don't know.
Well, Casual Observer, you watch us
always here. I know,
and we want to properly address you. But thank you.
Yes. Well, they said they were like, I could tell you were an actor. I was like, it was very nice. Thank you.
Yes.
It's been a long time. It's been a long time. But
I'm telling you, we're still gonna get Michelle to sing one of these days. Because you haven't even heard that. But yeah, I mean, again, these are points that need to be hammered home. Just like Elon Musk has not gone away. And these media narratives that we're reading are talking about, Elon Musk has stepped away.
If you believe this shit, I got a bridge to sell you. And like, do you know what I mean?
I know. But people, we have to remember that the average person does not pay attention to these things the way we do. Right. Even everyone who's listening to us now, we are unusually engaged. You guys are unusually engaged.
Masochists.
Yeah, I know. But so that's why it's important, though, that the folks like us talk to our friends and our family and our coworkers about these things. And that's how information is spread.
That's right.
So,
and sharing content too on your socials, also very, very important.
Please. And sharing the good stuff, right? Facebook was a massive problem in 2016 and 2020 with sharing propaganda. That's why the Russians and everybody
Cambridge Analytica.
They knew that to get the boomers, our parents, we love you, but you guys were the ones that were like, "Oh, did you see this?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's not."
I know,
that's not true.
And it's like it's like
worse now.
It's like the social media equivalent of like chain mail. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like the chain letters and stuff.
Yes,
and it's like, oh, did you see the thing?
I know, but now it's just a click, you can forward it to whomever.
Well,
and it's like,
speaking of boomers who believe nonsense, I think that we should talk about South Africa.
Yes,
and
what
happened
in that because of Elon.
See, great minds.
Yeah. Yes, of course. Elon Musk has not disappeared. And I was driving back from New York because Michelle and I, like I said, we were at an awards dinner benefit for one of our senior advisors, who's our national finance chair, Crystal Maguire. We love her. We'll show some photos of that in a little bit. And I was listening to Bloomberg because I'm a nerd and I listen to podcasts and Bloomberg like when I'm driving. And Elon Musk was doing an interview at this Qatari investment forum, which is I know. Yeah, but it's one of the big ones. And he's being interviewed and he was being challenged. And while I was driving, I was sent a note to our group chat. I was like, holy shit, guys, are you listening to this? And he was having a meltdown because he was being challenged about, well, it seems as though you're stepping out of politics and you're going back to Tesla. Was that because of pushback and backlash? Basically, because people don't like you because you're an asshole and you've like dismantled our whole federal government and taken all of our private
you're
data
like a weird
and enriched
creep.
yourself. And you're a weirdo on top of it. And so one of the things he said was like, "Oh, well, I'm done with politics, and I'm not going to give any more money unless I feel it's necessary to." And it was like, dude, you're not done with politics.
No way.
He was just on the trip, the Middle East trip with Donald Trump. He was also involved in this South Africa meeting yesterday that happened in the Oval Office because he was the biggest purveyor of this conspiracy theory bullshit about white genocide in South Africa.
Which is not a thing.
It's not a thing. If you watched our show yesterday over it, our Wednesday show that we do at noon with our gals, Julie Roginski and JoJo from Jersey, we talked about this because it was happening in real time while we were on the show. And I had to go grab a delivery, and I came back and I was like, oh my God, guys, this Oval Office meeting is an ambush. It's a disaster. This is like on par with the Zelensky thing. And Donald Trump is over here showing propaganda videos and holding up papers of people that were allegedly murdered. That is all bullshit purveyed by Elon Musk because he's a racist and an apartheid Nazi sympathizer. And they don't like the fact that South Africa isn't run by the white minority anymore. It's been 30 years since apartheid, but they are still mad about it.
They're all kinds of butthurt about it. And it's like, and it's, so he shows this video in the Oval Office, right? They dim the lights. They show this thing. It says, Mr. Trump told Mr. and am I pronouncing this right? Ramaphosa?
Yeah.
Ramaphosa.
Yeah.
That the footage showed burial sites of over 1,000 white farmers in South Africa. The New York Times analysis found that the footage instead showed a memorial procession on September 5th of 2020 near Newcastle, South Africa. The event, according to the local news website, was for a white farming couple in the area who the police said had been murdered in late August of that year. The crosses were planted in the days ahead of the event and were later removed. Now,
it's also important to understand that there is a lot of crime and violence in South Africa, unfortunately, that also across the board. It disproportionately impacts actually Black folks because there's more of them there. Okay. Yeah. And the white owners, there's 7% of the population that are farmers own something like 80% of the land there.
Right.
The disproportionate land distribution is outrageous. And this is all a byproduct of apartheid.
Yep.
For all those decades of it. So this whole thing about like all these white farmers are being murdered and there's a genocide. First of all, genocide is not a couple of people getting murdered. That's not genocide.
No,
genocide
that's just
is
an
like
awful thing that happened.
Right. Which has happened in many other places in Africa, where like in Rwanda, that's a genocide. In Sudan, that's a genocide. Ethiopia, that's genocide. Where there's war, that's genocide. What happened to Jews in World War II, that's a genocide. Like that's what genocide is, not what they're saying. And I don't understand why more media outlets were not correcting in real time.
Right. In real time.
This is not a genocide. So stop saying, oh, unsubstantiated. No, it's a fucking lie. And it's conspiracy.
Oh, like he said falsehoods. Like, no, it's a lie. You can actually say the word lie. And like, here's another lie.
Yes.
Says, look, this is what he said. Look, here's burial sites all over the place. These are all of white farmers that are being buried, Donald Trump said during yesterday's meeting with South Africa's president. The image he was holding up, however, is from the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's not even the same country.
It wasn't in South Africa. And the South African president was like, I'd like to know where that is. Because it's like, I'd like to know where that is. He was trying to be gracious. And it's like, he's got to walk a tightrope here. Instead, he knew damn well that wasn't South Africa. These things aren't new. This conspiracy theory has been pushed for years upon years by the white supremacist groups that are still pro-apartheid in South Africa. And guess who has been pushing it out on their Twitter feed that has hundreds of millions of followers is Elon freaking Musk and Tucker Carlson. These guys have been giving these fringe accounts all of this publicity for years to push this.
Yep.
And the president of the United States literally gave legitimacy to these white supremacist conspiracy theory bullshit from the Oval Office.
And like here's Midas Touch reported the Facebook account Trump shared with the South Africa's president as proof that the genocide against white South Africans belonged to a fringe account on Facebook. Coming back to the unfortunate boomers who are susceptible to conspiracy theories, account that frequently posts racist imagery and pushes flat earth conspiracies.
Oh, like flat earthers too. I mean,
flat earthers. I mean, and this is the thing. Like, yes, perfect. Every generation is susceptible to conspiracy theories.
We're just busting chops about boomers because we bust chops about our own parents. So,
well,
like,
and also
it's a running
not even my parents, because my parents are like very like they're our parents are good, but I'm saying we all have that uncle.
Yes,
do you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
we all have that uncle.
Legit, it's my aunt. She's like off the reservation with this. She's a total MAGA Christian.
I know my uncle
loon.
sends stuff to my mom that is like,
oh, I know. My same thing with my.
I told you about that. That's crazy times.
Yes, and so when we talk
this is where I'm like talking about. You know what I mean? Like he would believe this shit. He probably does.
Listen, my aunt was talking about 5G and like getting cancer.
Jesus
Christ. So like trust me, and she was sending me like Tucker Carlson interviews, and I said, stop sending me this, but but she's like, oh, what? Yeah, well, I'm not going to deal with this hate. This is all hate. I'm like, oh my God, facts are not.
It's not hate just because you don't like it.
I can't. It's and her church is the same thing. She's in one of these churches down there in Florida, and the pastor, I guess I don't know what he is like a racist pushing Trump bullshit and a thing about immigrants. It's bad, and it's like, what do we do? So when we talk about this stuff, I just want to be very clear to people who are listening. We're not being notional about this.
No.
We live this every day. We're not like some highfalutin people that are living in, our trust fund paid for homes and in our ivory towers. Like, we live this every day. We're real people just like you. And we have people in our family and our friends that just like you guys that go through this. So when we talk about it, this isn't hypothetical for us. It's real. Yeah. It's very real. And it impacts us the same way. It's why we're so passionate about it.
It absolutely does. And I think because of it, I've become even less tolerant to have grace in my life for people who, prescribe to this mentality or ideology, or even normalizing it, really, quite frankly, at this point, because I'm like, I can't, like, Tara and I spend all day, every day fighting against this. It's like, how can I make space in my life in this very limited time that I have, where I'm seeking happiness and trying to find joy in my life, making time for people who think that this is all fine. Like, I can't do it.
I can't. And it's like I said, I've said this many times, I've lost people very close to me. As a matter of fact, I had an alert pop up because I have one of those postable accounts that reminds you when it's somebody's birthday. So you can send an e-card. I've had that app for years. And one of my closest friends, she was like a sister to me. Her birthday's May 31st. And I lost her to the MAGA cult, and it popped up today. And it made me sad. I was like,
sucks.
All those years, all that friendship, and I lost her to the cult. And it's
a cult, and it is a cult. And speaking of things you don't want to hear, and you just call them hate, and so in the Oval Office, and we have a couple clips from this fiasco. The first one I want to play is when Peter Alexander asks Donald Trump during this exchange about the Qatari airplane, and he goes off on him. So here's this.
Mr. President, the Pentagon announced it would be accepting a Qatari jet to be used as Air Force One.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You to get out of here. What does this have to do with the Qatari jet? They're giving the United States Air Force a jet, okay? And it's a great thing. We're talking about a lot of other things. It's NBC trying to get off the subject of what you just saw. You are a real, you're a terrible reporter. Number one, you don't have what it takes to be a reporter. You're not smart enough. But for you to go into a subject about a jet that was given to the United States Air Force, which is a very nice thing. They also gave $5.1 trillion worth of investment in addition to the jet. Go back, you ought to go back to your studio at NBC, because Brian Roberts and the people that run that place, they ought to be investigated. They are so terrible the way you run that network, and you're a disgrace. No more questions from you. Go ahead. Go right, talk about that. His name is Peter something. He's a
Peter
terrible
something.
reporter.
He knows who he is.
I know.
Quiet.
And then he keeps
Let's
yelling quiet like he's a child. And I just want to go right into that because this was right after that. The exchange that he has with the South African president, not only about the plane, but also goes on a tangent about the media. Oops.
Those policies do not go along with government policy. Our government policy is completely against what he was saying, even in the parliament. And they're a small minority party, which is allowed to exist in terms of our constitution.
But you do allow them to take land.
No.
You do allow them to take land.
Nobody can take
When
land.
they take the land,
Dipshit.
they kill the white farmer. And
No.
when they kill the white farmer, nothing happens to them.
That's bullshit.
There is
Nothing happens to
There
them.
is criminality in our country. People who do get killed, unfortunately, through criminal activity, are not only white people. Majority of them are black people.
Thank you.
And we have now
The
been
farmers are
utilized.
black. The farmers are not black.
We
I don't
now-
say that's good or bad, but the farmers are not black. And the people that are being killed in large numbers, and you saw all those grave sites, and those are people that loved ones going, I guess on a Sunday morning, they told me, to pay respect to their loved ones that were killed.
Yeah.
Their heads chopped off.
But look,
They
what is he
died
talking about?
Violently.
Just making shit up.
You know, I mean, we're here to talk about it, and I didn't
we
know
will
we'd get
talk about it.
involved here, but I will say this, that if the news wasn't fake, like
There we go.
NBC, which is fake news, totally, one of the worst, ABC, NBC, CBS, horrible. But if they weren't fake news like this jerk that we have here, if we had real reporters,
Nice.
they'd be covering it. But the fake news in this country doesn't talk about that. They don't want to talk about it, but now they have to talk about it. But they won't. This won't even be a subject. They'll have him talking about why did a country give a free, think of this, why did a country give an airplane to the United States Air Force? United States, not to me, to the United States Air Force, so they could help us out because we need an Air Force One until that's Air Force One, it's being built. 2 of them being built. But Boeing's a little bit late, unfortunately. So why did they give us a plane to the United States Air Force? That's what that idiot talks about after viewing a thing where thousands of people are dead.
I'm sorry, I don't have a plane to give you.
I wish you did. I'd take it. I would take it. If your country offered the United States Air Force a plane, I would take it.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So
Yeah, no,
a
it's
couple of things
that's
about
the end.
this.
Yeah.
Couple of things about this. First of all, I mean, I know how it's so frustrating because these other heads of state have to
sit there and listen to this shit.
Right. But you know, I feel like they should be more passive aggressive because Trump's going to fuck them anyway.
Yeah.
So he should be, I would have been like, well, as the actual president of South Africa, I can assure you
that we never will.
You know, that X, Y, and Z, you know, or like, well, sir, you know, that I'm sorry that you've been given bad information.
Yeah.
But and I mean, it's
I know.
hard. I mean, it's
just be more
done.
I know, but he came very prepared. I will say that.
Of
Like,
course, because they're not
patience
stupid.
of Job. Like just sitting there, just taking it, speaking.
He's
very
known
calmly.
as a master negotiator, and you can tell that
You can
he's well
tell.
versed.
He knows who
in
he's
that.
dealing with.
Yeah, but nobody is really fully prepared for Trump. It's crazy, and it's because he jumps all around, and like he went from talking about the bullshit about the white farmers to Air Force One, because again they're trying. He always tries to deflect, because all of it is corrupt, all of it's messed up, and the 2 more things about Elon Musk, and then the Qatari thing.
Mm-hmm.
So Elon Musk now has for years been trying to get a contract with the South African government for Starlink.
Right.
And he can't get one because South Africa has a law that you need to have businesses with at least 30% Black ownership. Again, that is to make up for the decades of apartheid. So because his company is not 30% Black owned or has 30% Black investment in it, they're trying to find, they're now trying to find a workaround because they need a trade agreement with the United States. South Africa they rely on the United States for AIDS money. We've withdrawn. Donald Trump stopped the $400 million that was going to South Africa to help with HIV/AIDS, which is killing people as we speak as a result. So all of the soft power and the goodwill that the United States had built up in so many of these countries, Trump has taken that aid away and he's using it as leverage to bully them into bullshit. And so this is what's happening here. South Africa, to survive, the US and China are their biggest trading partners. And so they're trying to balance it out. And meanwhile, Elon Musk is now going to get his Starlink contract with South Africa. They're going to find a workaround. That's what this is all about. Just like
it's like they're, you know, the tentacles, the marionettes. It's just like there's like 3-4 people with all this power and all this money, and literally millions of people suffer because of it. And to the Bruce Springsteen point, where he's like, the richest men in the world are responsible for the deaths of the poorest children in the world.
That's right.
And it is an atrocity. And I want to point this out too. Patriot Takes posted this, and it's a stunning visual.
Yeah.
Trump, while surrounded by portraits of slaveholders and men who slaughtered Native Americans, lectures South Africa on human rights.
Man, that doesn't sum it up.
If that doesn't sum it up, and when I was listening to him go off about, it doesn't look like this to me, whatever, all I could think about was that I think it was in 1993 when he testified before Congress about
they don't look Indian to me.
I have this clip, and I just think everyone needs to be reminded that we have known who Donald Trump was and is for decades.
Is this you discussing Indian blood? We're going to judge people by whether they have Indian blood, whether they're qualified to run a gaming casino or not?
That probably is me, absolutely. Because I'll tell you what, if you look at some of the reservations that you've approved, you, sir, in your great wisdom have approved, I will tell you right now, they don't look like Indians to me, and they don't look like the Indians. Now, maybe we say politically correct or not politically correct. They don't look like Indians to me, and they don't look like Indians to Indians, and a lot of people are laughing at it, and you're telling how tough it is, how rough it is to get approved. Well, you go up to Connecticut, and you look. Now, they don't look like Indians to me, sir.
Thank God that's not the test of whether or not people have rights in this country or not, whether or not they pass your look test.
Depends whether or not you're approving it, sir.
No, it's not a question whether I'm approving it. It's not a question whether I'm approving it. Mr. Trump, you know in the history of this country where we've heard this discussion before, they don't look Jewish to me.
Oh, really?
They don't look Indian to me. They don't look Italian to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a test for whether people could go into business or not go into business, whether they could get a bank loan. You're too black. You're not black enough.
I want to find out. Then why you're approving for Indian? Why don't you approve it for everybody then? If your case is non-discriminatory, why don't you approve for everybody? You're saying only Indians. Wait a minute, sir. You're saying only Indians can have the reservations. Only Indians can have the gaming. So why aren't you approving it for everybody? Why are you being discriminatory? Why is it that the Indians don't pay tax, but everybody else does? I do.
I mean, that's...
Yep.
That, I mean...
Yeah.
It's like holding a mirror up to everything we were just talking about for the last 10 minutes and taking a time machine back to 1983.
Yes.
And speaking of time machines, I wish someone would go back to 1955 and take the sports almanac out of his hands.
I know.
And give it back to Marty, because this sucks. And I'm so over it. And I was watching that, and I was watching also the thing. Remember at the was it the NABJ? Is that what it was called?
Yep.
Where he was going off about Kamala Harris.
Not black.
Yeah, she's not black. Well, she was Indian until she decided to be black. And stunned. What's her face from Fox News? What? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Harris Faulkner.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, people just. Oh, well, whatever. That's a fine.
He's a racist old man, and
so what?
Like,
but the price of eggs, the price of eggs, and he's not the black woman or whatever she is. I mean,
or whatever she is.
It's stunning. It's stunning.
And
so
again,
he gets away with doing that. He gets away with doing that. He gets away with the rank corruption that is going on right now, literally making billions of dollars off of this bullshit crypto stuff and taking gifts from bribes from Qatar and everything else, building casinos and getting all these deals, or building resorts or whatever. He bankrupted casinos. He's out of that business now. Building resorts in Qatar, in Abu Dhabi, in Saudi Arabia, now Vietnam, another country that relies on us for trade. And tonight, as we speak, there is a soiree going on at Trump's golf course here in the Northern Virginia area with the top 200 people to
Which
his
one's that?
crypto
Doral?
coin.
Which one?
No,
is that?
Doral's Miami. It's Sterling.
Oh, Sterling.
Yep, Sterling. People, the top 200 people to his crypto meme coin, the Trump bullshit coin, that folks are saying the majority are foreign. Some of these people are like the worst of the worst wacko people, and they're pouring this money into this crypto coin, which isn't even a real thing. And there's virtually no regulation on this, but he's got all this crypto money with his sons running around the world, getting all these people basically paying bribes to get access to the president of the United States. There was a report tonight that one of these top donors to this crypto coin is some Chinese billionaire, and another guy is some software guy that went into the crypto business and was under investigation by the SEC or one of the agencies that Elon Musk went in and dismantled, because Musk also has his own crypto coin called Doge. And they're all getting access to the president of the United States because they poured
nobody cares. And nobody cares.
Fine.
And I think if this is the right clip, I think it is. I didn't label it, so we're just going to pray on it. That Caroline Leavitt was asked about it in the White House press briefing.
Absurd for anyone to insinuate that this president is profiting off of the presidency. This president was incredibly successful before giving it all up to serve our country publicly. And not only has he lost wealth, but he also almost lost his life. He has sacrificed a lot to be here, and to suggest otherwise is frankly completely absurd.
Oh, shut up, you bullshit Barbie bitch. I can't do it. I can't do it. They constantly goes up there with that smug attitude.
Funny. I know. And her overdrawn lips and her weird lip gloss
looking like Cindy Who from Whoville. I mean,
I know.
I don't want to insult Cindy Who.
Well, yeah. And then she has the audacity to tell us all that she is morally superior, and then she goes home to her grandpa husband. But it's just the whole thing is just there's so many layers of awfulness. It's disgusting.
I know.
It's so many layers of awfulness, and I just want to shine a light just back to what we predicted, right? Is how bad the cabinet is. It just, however bad you think it is, it's just Pete Hegseth sent this out to all the Pentagon employees the other day. It's a I don't know what it's supposed to be, like a tombstone. I don't know.
Is it supposed to be like stained glass in a
it looks like
church?
a tombstone.
It does look like a tombstone,
doesn't it? It says the office of, I was
this is sent an email for people who are listening.
Sent in an email. Yep. The Office of Secretary of Defense invites you to join us in a Christian prayer and worship service Wednesday, May 21st, 10:30 to 11, Pentagon Auditorium. And then it says RSVP at prayerservice@sd.mil. Now, I asked some people who are in the military if this was received, and I got 2 and 3 confirmations from different sources. So this
outrageous.
And then I'll just point out that RFK Jr., and his minions that are running the FDA, they're poised to restrict access to COVID vaccines this fall. So you know how all of us can just go to CVS and get a COVID vaccine? That's not going to happen anymore.
Nope.
This fall, you either have to prove that you have some sort of debilitating health condition or that you are over the age of 65. So yeah, vaccines for adults over 65 and certain medical conditions in the fall will require additional studies, blah, blah, blah. Moderna, because they were making a COVID flu combo shot.
Yep.
They have completely pulled the application for this, which means we're not going to get that. And Sean Duffy is very busy, the transportation secretary. This is from the transportation website. Okay. Sean Duffy announces US MMA's Christ on the Water painting is moving out of the basement. Wow.
Oh my God. Meanwhile, it's unsafe to fly into Newark Airport and to other airports. We're seeing aviation disasters everywhere.
Denver had this problem. And I just want to, hold on, where is it?
And this guy's worrying about a freaking painting in the basement.
Yeah. This happened in San Diego early this morning.
Yeah, the flight took off from Jersey. The flight
took off from Teterboro. It landed somewhere in the middle. It took a stop somewhere and then continued on.
Do you know who the guy was on the plane?
No, did they announce that?
Oh, they announced it. So he was a Christian rock band drummer, some big Christian rock band, and he was now like a software engineer, and he lived in the San Diego area. And his agent was on the flight with him, who was a pilot.
Wow.
So there are Instagram photographs of him getting on the flight from
I did not know this yet.
Yeah, right down the road from where I grew up. So I know Teterboro very well. It's right
Yeah,
next to
yeah,
the
yeah.
Giants
And for
Stadium.
people who don't know, like Teterboro is like a tiny airport. Well, it's
That's
like a
right.
small airport,
But it's
right
a private
outside New York
airport.
City. Right.
All
It's like
the people in their
anybody.
private jets. That's where
Right.
everybody flies into.
Right.
Anyway, and so yeah, so he had Instagram photos with him getting onto the flight and then in the cockpit, and it had like him at the controls saying like "Let's go" or "Here we go" or something like that. So I think there's some speculation that perhaps his buddy let him. I think he was learning to be a pilot or something. Maybe he gave him controls, because that's when the most crashes occur. It's on takeoff and landing.
Right.
So something clearly happened in the landing, because this was
this
not
is
far.
a Cessna 550, which I looked up is like a jet. So
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
see like rich people in their jets, it's not like some little prop plane, like
No,
little rinky
it's not a
dink
Cessna.
thing.
It wasn't like a Cessna prop. It's a Cessna 550.
It says a 550, which is a
with
legit
real jet engines. Yeah.
And it crashed into the largest military community in the world, not just the United States, the world. And, you know, I'm reading about, you know, this is obviously hours ago, so this has all kind of changed since then. But I thought this was
it's
interesting.
amazing where people didn't die. I mean, that's
the airport has a control tower, but it is not staffed in the overnight hours. So pilots announced their intentions to any other pilots listening in on the common traffic advisory frequency. I thought that part was rather interesting. You know, and so listen, the views, if you see the videos, this whole neighborhood's on fire. It's, you know, while not as devastating, was kind of reminiscent, if you've seen the videos of Lockerbie, Scotland, of like those poor people, which, you know, I've talked about on the show and in other shows, like, you know, there were 35 Syracuse students on that plane. And so, you know, my professors and people I went to school, you know, have a connection to this. And when I see that, it's automatically, I just can't, it's jarring because it's the middle of the night. And so, but the good news out of this, and if there is any, you know, it does, when terrible things happen, it does bring people together to help each other. And I want to just pull this video really quick of the San Diego Humane Society. People who had to flee their homes very quickly, their pets were left behind. They were able to get all the pets and bring them to a hazmat area to wash all the jet fuel off the dogs. I know.
Well, thank God everybody got their pets back, though, right?
Yeah, that's from what I'm hearing. Yeah, look at these sweet babies. I know.
Oh my God.
It's sweet. I mean, like, just these people, though. You know what I mean?
All morning.
That would totally
There
be
was
my
a lot
mom.
of jet fuel in the area, and some of that may have gotten onto these pets. So they are taking no chances. This is actually being treated as a hazmat situation. You can see the protective gear that these workers are wearing. Again, they are caring for some of the dogs displaced. I believe the huskies you're seeing, we had them on our air this morning, of humane officers taking them in a cart away from the scene. And then so we are looking at video that is, of some of the animals that are being rescued. You know, when this happened, it happened at 4 a.m. Obviously, it was very loud, explosive, and very scary. And what we see, just like the 4th of July, when fireworks go off.
Yeah. So I'm always like to be reminded that there are some angels among us, you know, that really, they swoop in to help. And, you know, and of course the animals, sometimes I find myself caring a little bit more.
I mean, not sometimes.
I know.
Well, people are terrible.
I know, people are terrible. And the dogs and the cats and the bunnies and the turtles, like, they're just trying to like just chill and live, and they can't talk to us, and we are the ones who have to help them. And so, you know, I see that stuff and I'm just like, ugh. So if you're in the San Diego area, if you live around there, if you know anyone who does, that the San Diego Humane Society is doing very good work in the face of, you know, a really terrible tragedy. So, well, listen, there's a couple more things I guess we wanted to just mention. One is about Joe Biden.
Yes.
We did want to just talk quickly about that news. We talked about it on the show yesterday over it. And I also did a live on Substack with Julie Roginski about it. But I should have grabbed my glasses. This is the statement that we put out from the Seneca Project. Joe Biden has always been a fighter, not for headlines, but for people. For over 50 years, he has led with integrity, empathy, and a deep moral compass. He didn't need a poll to care about women's health, workers' rights, or the soul of our democracy. He just did the work because it was the right thing to do. Now he faces a personal battle with cancer. And true to form, he meets it with the same resilience and grace that has defined his life. This is a man who turned personal tragedies into national purpose, like reigniting the cancer moonshot so others wouldn't have to suffer the way his family did. President Biden led us through a once-in-a-century pandemic, restored our economy to become the envy of the world, stood up to authoritarianism, and placed women at the center of policy, not as a gesture, but as a governing principle. His decency and innate goodness made us proud to be Americans. In this moment, we honor an American president who has shown us time and time again what quiet strength and compassion look like. Joe Biden never stopped fighting for us, and we won't stop standing with him now. We send our heartfelt support, love, and best wishes to the Biden family for a full and speedy recovery. Keep fighting, Mr. President. We've got your back.
Yeah, that sums it up for us because we don't give a damn about Jake Tapper's book or about people who are trying to destroy his legacy now. We can have those conversations later. I wrote a quick Substack about this on Sunday. I have a very personal affinity for the Bidens that I cannot talk about. Why? And I mentioned this in my Substack. One day when it's safe to, I will. But I don't really care. I understand that that people are upset that there was a potential cover up or the American people didn't know and blah blah blah. You know what? There was a lot going on, and not saying that people should have lied or misled the American people, but in the greater scheme of things, this is not what our energy should be focused on right now at all. And it really pisses me off that CNN spent hours upon hours of their airtime promoting Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson's book very selfishly, instead of dedicating those minutes and hours to what's actually killing people in this country and what's happening in this country. Okay, I don't give a fuck that Joe Biden was old and that he may have been going through something. Well, the country didn't fall apart. We didn't have a century-long pandemic. Right. It was the opposite. We were the envy of the world. Joe Biden pulled us out of the shit that Donald Trump put us through and set us back on track. And the country was doing great. Were there problems still? Sure. But there was not enough to warrant this level of sanctimonious bullshit outrage, feigned outrage coming from the media and the elites and the people who were not in the Biden circle, that were mad that they didn't get their way in the Democratic Party with their candidate or whatever the hell. And I'm sorry, now is not the time for this discussion. I'm sorry, it's not. I don't want to hear that this is the biggest scandal since Watergate. And oh my God, have you looked at Donald Trump and what he's doing? I'm
Seriously.
Did Joe Biden dismantle our federal government? Did Joe Biden have mass indiscriminate firings? Is Joe Biden enriching him and his family through bullshit crypto companies? Is Joe Biden accepting planes from Qatari kingdoms? Is Joe Biden selling our country out to Russia? Is Joe Biden abandoning our allies? No. So is Joe Biden defying orders from judges? Is Joe Biden snatching people off the streets and deporting them against habeas corpus in this country? Is Joe Biden doing any of that? No. So I don't want to fucking hear it from Jake Tapper and everybody else talking about that Joe Biden being old and maybe having an illness during his part of his presidency being the biggest scandal in the last 50 years.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Well said, Tara. And I just want to say also, and my dad was diagnosed with prostate cancer at 74 years old, and he's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. I say that, but there's after a certain age, there are some doctors who do not advise PSA tests for certain. I don't know if this happened to President Biden,
They said he
but
hadn't had one since 2014.
well, there you go. That's how this happens. And so, you know, your health is your business, but you know, I think getting the test is always a good thing to do. I'm so glad my dad did, and for that reason, he's healthy and okay now.
We're glad.
But I
years from Papa Kinney.
Yes, but also I want to say that, you know, the snide remarks about his health, about his cancer diagnosis, President Biden might not hear those things, but you know who does? People who are battling cancer.
That's right.
Their families, their friends. And I cannot tell you the collateral damage that people do by saying these things publicly. You know, the whole internet's a town hall now, and everybody's got a hot take about everything.
Mm-hmm.
But this kind of cruelty, while you may be, you know, throwing shade at the former president of the United States, the shade's not going to hit him. It's going to hit everybody else.
That's correct. And it's not going to change what we're going through now.
No, it's not.
Where is that same energy about Donald Trump and his health?
Or even telling the story about, how his health, how feeble he is, how old he is, how out of it he is.
Correct.
And how if anything was to happen to him, we have one of the most dangerous people sitting in the sidelines, a Frankenstein, extremist right-wing Opus Dei creep, you know, nationalist who will do the bidding of anybody because he doesn't know who he is.
That's
He's a very, very, very dangerous young man.
He's 40 years old, people, okay? We're talking about JD Vance. And guess who else had the foresight to warn the American people about your one Big Mac fried, well done, ketchup laden monstrosity of a steak away from a heart attack from the presidency? And that's JD Vance.
Yeah.
And we did this back in the fall. Nope, the Democrats didn't, but we did. I think we should play Heartbeat.
Yep.
If elected, Trump would be the oldest president ever inaugurated, but his campaign still refuses to release his detailed medical records.
What's he hiding? A heartbeat away from him is JD Vance.
Quite literally one heartbeat away from the presidency.
Trump is not a fit guy.
Heartbeat away from the presidency.
This man is not well.
Heartbeat away.
78 years old.
I will very quickly deflate defeat.
He may not make it.
The vice president becomes the president. Automatically.
What did we learn about what the Vance presidency would be like?
Roe versus Wade is an abomination.
He said rape is inconvenient.
Two wrongs don't make a right. Childless cat ladies. Project 2025. It's a 900-page document. I guarantee there are things that Trump likes.
I'm very happy with the JD pick. Think of him as a member version of what we do.
Kevin Roberts is a friend of mine.
Bloodless, if the left allows it to be.
What an amazing coup this would be for Peter Thiel.
You've benefited from your friendship with Peter Thiel.
Sure.
$15 million.
Do the people who fund your campaigns actually share your values?
He's palling around with people who are skeptical of the 19th Amendment.
If you got women to have more children.
JD Vance wants to allow the tracking of women's menstrual cycles.
You have people using abortion basically as another form of birth control.
Trump refuses to release even the most basic information about his health.
This should scare the ever-living shit out of everybody.
Yes.
Everybody.
Yes.
As a brain-dead woman sits in the state of Georgia with a fetus growing inside of her that will not survive, and they're keeping her alive. While we have
against her family's wishes because of the abortion law in Georgia.
A woman who had a miscarriage in the state of Texas was just released from jail after spending 5 months in jail.
For having a miscarriage.
So you know, the architects of Project 2025 and the vast variety of topics that it covers, the architects of that were featured in that video. Russell Vogt, Kevin Roberts from the Heritage Foundation. They selected JD Vance for him for a reason.
He wrote the foreword to Project 2025.
That's right.
But Donald Trump never heard of it. Never heard of it. I don't know what you're talking about. We don't know.
Right. And he is not a healthy man.
No,
and if you
he's
listen
not.
to him, he's rambling. He doesn't know what day it is half the time. He's
the shit shoe polish makeup is trying to cover more
right.
things.
He's got
That's why
on his hands. What's going on? Nobody knows. But this is a man who's never given us a health record, a tax record, a nothing.
Nope.
It's the
but
least
Joe Biden. But we're gonna write.
Joe
We're gonna write a book about Joe Biden and make it seem like it's the biggest scandal in 50 years.
Tapper has gone so far as to go on Megyn Kelly's podcast.
I saw that. I was like, oh wow, we're doing that.
Done.
We're doing that.
Done. I am done with this man. I've never been a huge Jake Tapper fan. Like I've just been kind of like agnostic, quite frankly. Yeah. But now I'm just like, you have sold your soul.
I mean, I saw that and I was like, wow, this is really about books. And I just want a shameless plug. In that we show JD Vance talking about childless cat ladies. Yeah. And we did a cool t-shirt that says childless cat lady on it. And it's all on our Seneca Project .us website. We actually have a whole merch shop. So for you guys, like we don't have the purple hat still. I'm sorry. It has been a whole thing.
I know.
And I'm sorry. Yeah, the whole thing. And actually some of the costs are going up. I just got an alert from the merch shop that we use. And because of the tariffs. And so for certain places, things are being shipped. They're like, things are going up. Anyway, it's a whole thing. So please don't add us about the purple hats. Trust me, we're working on it. If we can find a domestic supplier.
If you know any supplier,
email us.
Yeah. Especially if it's made in USA, because that is always our preference.
China.
That's right.
But yeah, so there's
please let us know.
But we also, we do have childless cat ladies pretty cool shirts, and they are in purple. We have them in other colors. But since our American Girl win, people loved our 5-word speech so much that we turned it into merch. So if you would like a hat or a shirt or a mug that says American Girls Never Back Down, we have them. They are up on our Seneca Project.us website. Just go to shop and you'll get all of our merch. We have all kinds of cool stuff there. We have water bottles, and I think we even have pet collars now. So,
are they just for dogs, or do we have cat ones?
Because
the dog ones are so thick.
I know. They don't have cat ones because believe me, I would get one for Rafi.
I know. My little boys. They need a little
they would
accessory.
Love it. Tiki wouldn't have it. I put bow ties on Tiki, rest in peace, Tiki. But he would let me dress him in his little Giants jersey. He had one. We haven't tried to dress Rafi yet because he's a big boy too. So we're gonna see. We still have time for football season. I'm gonna see if I can get a jersey on Rafi.
Yeah. Well, speaking of football season, we were at the Paley Center Honors on Monday, and that's the last thing we just want to show you.
Yes. We want to end on a happy note.
We want to end on a happy note. We did meet, well, you know him anyways, Michael Strahan, but I got to meet Michael Strahan. And if you go to, actually, have I posted it yet? No, but I'll post it tonight on my Blue Sky or my Instagram. It is. Okay.
Good. Not yours. I don't think I have the one.
I'm 5 feet tall. I'm wearing 4-inch heels, and I'm standing next to Michael Strahan, and it's still like a 1.5 foot difference. It's very funny to me. But couldn't be a nicer guy. He's such a sweetheart. I mean, oh my gosh. So
I'm still in awe of the fact that we're like buddies, and he's buddies with my husband. He's always
I know. I told Joe that, and he was like, "Wait, what?" And he was like, "How is Tara friends with him?" I was like, "Well, her husband actually is better friends with him." And he was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "They're buds."
Yes, he invites him to come golf all the time and to see his car collection because he's a big car collector. And as someone who is an insane New York Giants fan since I was a kid and met my husband at a New York Giants Super Bowl fan club party, like the Giant people know I am a huge Giants fan. Yeah. And to be buddies with one of the Giants greats, and he's the nicest guy ever, is like, I'm still in awe of that. And the reason people are wondering is because for years I was an ABC News contributor. And so I would run into Strahan at ABC studios. And so there was a group of
on the Upper West Side, right?
Yeah, right on 66, which is not there anymore. They moved everything down to Hudson Yards,
which is so unfortunate.
I know, it's terrible. Even Good Morning America has moved. And so we became friends through networks at work at ABC. And so back in 2017, my mom, actually, I took her to see Good Morning America in person so we could go meet Strahan, and he was super nice and took pictures with her. And like, I've been to his house, and then I had an event at his home. I brought Marcel, And that was that. I was chopped liver because everybody loves my husband better than me.
Well, he's
anyway,
the
'cause
best.
Cool.
He's like the nicest guy.
He's like the mayor. Everybody loves Marcel. So then
your
they
husband
did
and
it.
my husband, both the mayors of
True.
wherever they are.
It's so true. And they both love karaoke.
They do.
So they became buddies, and then they've stayed friends over the years. And so like they text all the time. And then I found out that every time I'm on air, Marcel actually texts Michael Strahan.
That's so sweet.
I didn't know this. So apparently a bunch of people I've been running into have been telling me how Marcel, unbeknownst to me, is sending these mass texts out whenever I'm on television or whenever we're doing like something big. And he was
like the Terra TV chat.
It's true. It's the cutest thing. And so Stray says to me on Monday, he's like, your husband is so proud of you. He texts me every time you're on TV or doing something. He's really proud of you. And I was like, oh my God, you too. He's like, funny. I love it. I was like, oh my God. So anyway, Monday was a great night. Not only did Michelle get to meet Michael Strahan, I got to meet the one and only Linda Carter, the original Wonder Woman, which was my whole goal of the night, even though we were there to support our good friend, Crystal McQuarrie Maguire, who was being honored because she's amazing and a badass. She's also our national finance chair here at Seneca Project. So we're there to support her. And I was like, I love you, Crystal, but I have to meet Linda Carter. And I did. Those are posted on my Instagram. So
and she had a really great quote during her acceptance speech. Linda Carter did. It said, "We are the mothers of all mankind, and don't you forget it."
Yes.
And I just loved that. I thought that was so great.
She is 75 and fabulous.
Yeah, she looks amazing. And like great energy. Like she's
all of
just,
it. All of it.
The whole package. But
I can die happy now.
But Crystal,
I told you, I just need Julia.
I know. I feel like we can make that happen. I need Julie Andrews.
Please, I'm speaking it into existence. I need to meet Julie Andrews. I need to meet Mary Poppins.
I have friends who've like worked with her and stuff. So I feel like it's possible. This is a possibility.
I've got to meet Mary Poppins.
Yes, we'll make it happen. I know it's going to happen. So the thing is,
we have a couple clips, right, from Monday.
Yes, I have the clip of Crystal and giving her acceptance speech, and I just want to tee this up that Crystal is an incredible storyteller. She is one of those people that when you meet her, you kind of can't believe that this person exists because she's so friendly and she's so nice and can talk to anybody. Like she can just walk into a room and just like, I mean, it's an amazing skill that I don't even think you can teach. And so she produces a lot of documentaries and short films and things like that. And she does it all.
6 feet tall.
She's 6 feet tall. I mean, hello.
And wicked smart. Like,
and so smart. And if you watch the show and just like that, there is the new character whose name I can't remember, but it's Nicole Ari Parker plays the role.
Yeah.
Is actually based on Crystal. And she because she's like that fabulous and amazing. So
she is.
So this was just
we're blessed to have her.
Yes, we really are. And I'm just like, it's amazing. A year ago, I didn't know any of these people, and now I do. And I just feel so lucky to have her in our corner. So
Michelle was the one who pointed out, because I'm friends with Crystal. I've known her for years. And then she was like, oh my God, Crystal McQuarrie Maguire liked one of our videos. I was like, did she? I was like,
yeah, I was like, I knew who she was. And she's married to Ray Maguire, who
ran for mayor.
And I was like, he was at the top of my ranks thing because I thought he was so great, and had the best ad of the cycle, that was made by Spike Lee. But
of course, because Crystal's best friends with Spike Lee's wife. And so I was like, wait, let me reach out to Crystal and see if she wants to, help us out. And within 5 minutes, she was like, are you kidding me? Absolutely. Your ads are amazing. What can I do to help? And the rest is history.
Exactly.
She was with us at the Webbies.
She was. So I just want to play, and she had a much larger and longer speech, but this is just an excerpt of what she had to say as a storyteller and the importance of being who she is in that space.
Yes. So as I reflect on the stories I've shared and those I still hope to tell, I naturally want them to be engaging. Yet, as a documentarian, and as a Black woman content creator, I feel a profound responsibility to represent the full spectrum of who we are. It is essential to allow us our dignity while also showcasing non-stereotypical, multi-dimensional, respectful, and thoughtful depictions of our lives.
That's right.
As Ava DuVernay recently stated, truth itself is under a revision, and fear feels like an animating force. Susan mentioned Janae Nelson, who's the president and director counsel of the Legal Defense Fund, who is here tonight and sitting at my table there. She spoke in the most recent LDF documentary on the 85th anniversary and said the following that continues to resonate with me in the work that I'm doing. The bloodless way to erase the identity of a people is to erase their history, to ban their books, to raid their museums, to legislate their very existence. The individuals whose oral histories I have been privileged to collect are bearers of history. They are living legacies of what came before this moment. They represent the primary resources we all had to cite in school. This, of course, predated TikTok and Google that are used now as news sources. And disinformation was treated as such. They have shared firsthand accounts of American history, civil rights lawyers leaving courthouses in Alabama after defending clients' rights to vote, with fully robed KKK members waiting for them outside, needing to check underneath their cars for bombs. Or when I interviewed Vernon Jordan and he recounted how Thurgood Marshall was his personal hero. Or the Johnson family sharing their journey from Jamaica to become teachers, nurses, and entrepreneurs. Fundamental to all their stories is the power of recollection, the importance of sharing one's history, their truth. They remind us of some of the worst times, but also of inspiration and the promise of America.
She's amazing. She really is amazing. And congratulations again to Crystal for being honored by the Paley Center, which is plays a really important role in media and for storytelling and truth. So on that, we'll say goodnight. We know we kept everyone long, but thank you for everyone who stayed with us, because we have a lot to, we had a lot to talk about, and a lot has happened in the last week.
Every week is, it's.
I know. I'm always like, we're not going to go over an hour and a half.
I know. It's our show, and we'll go long if we want.
We'll do whatever we want. But thank you guys for hanging out with us, and have everyone. I hope you have a nice Memorial Day weekend, and that we all pay our proper respects to our military and those who gave the ultimate sacrifice so that we can continue to be free, and to take a stand against what Donald Trump and this administration is doing to disrespect our military and those who have given the ultimate sacrifice. We will be loud about that and not let them get away with it. Saturday, we will be doing our coffee and conversation at 10 a.m. on Saturday for a little bit. We will definitely not do a 2-hour show Saturday because it is Memorial Day weekend. We want people to go out and have a barbecue and enjoy themselves.
Unless you live in the Northeast and it's so cold and my radiator turned on today. Today.
That's nuts. What? It's May 22nd. What is happening?
Over it.
I know it's chilly here too, but it's been raining. It's been bleh. But
radiator.
I know that's nuts. So, but anyway, we'll see you guys on Saturday. If not, we'll see you next week. And thank you everybody for hanging out with us.
Bye.